for these. Oh, now I'm going to call the meeting to order for the Board of Directors of the Ceiba Charter School on September 6th at 4 p.m. And Josh is co-hosting, and this is being recorded for anybody who has an interest. I don't see that we have any guests. We
actually do have some guests today. I'm going to turn my computer. So we have some student guests, members of our ASB who have joined us here. I'm going to see if I can capture all of you on the camera. There it is.
Hey,
Right.
welcome.
do you have them identify themselves?
Yes.
I'm Mariana Mendoza. I'm the ASB president.
My name is Oscar Serrano. My name is, Oscar Serrano, and I'm vice president of ASB.
I am Ana Juarez and I am treasurer.
My name is Victoria Olivia and I am secretary of ASB.
Thank you for being with us this afternoon. It's wonderful having students on board. I'm also going to take this opportunity to introduce Dr. Roberto Portillo, who is joining us as a guest. You will notice on the agenda, item 7B, there will be a vote to add or to discuss the addition of Dr. Portillo to the Ceiba board. During the course of this meeting, if there are questions that you would like to ask him that have to do with his background, his interests, whatever, that would be fine, as long as it does not concern questions specific to the action we will take on item 7B. So welcome, Dr. Portillo. And just want to make sure we understand that after item 7A, we're going to ask you to sign off since we're going to be talking about you. All right. Very good. So we've introduced the student guests. I don't see any other guests. Where'd Josh go? Oh, Josh, that's right. He's behind the computer. Is there any public comment? This is an opportunity for anybody in attendance to talk about something that is not on today's agenda.
Yes, there is.
So once again, I'm Mariana, and I'm going to do a little recap on the two events we've already held at Ceiba this year, which have been the middle school glow in the dark dance and Noche de Familia. So for the middle school glow in the dark dance, we didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare before it. It was mostly planned by Clarissa. And so we had done a little bit of advertising on social media, on the Schoology page, and making posters. We had sold pizza, drinks, and then I was doing face painting. And then afterwards we cleaned up and that was it. And then for the Noche de la Familia, we had a little more time to plan it. So we had prizes, and then we got games like Loteria, Bingo, Jenga, and Uno. And after each round we had prizes. And then we were selling pozole, cupcakes, brownies, chips, and a bunch of other snacks from different clubs at school. So that was an opportunity for the fundraise. And then I was also doing face painting again. And then that was it. And we cleaned up and yeah.
You're making me hungry.
So just out of curiosity, since you're now starting the next school year and you've gone through 2 or 3 very difficult years with the pandemic, how's school feeling for you students at this time?
So I'm a senior this year as well as Oscar, the vice president. So far I really like my classes that I got. I'm building a way stronger connection with all my teachers, and I'm just trying to savor and admire every little moment I get, because that's going to go by pretty fast.
Oh boy, is it ever.
Yeah, that's great.
Uh,
Anybody else?
It's better from online because I think it's easier to reach out for a teacher face to face better than just looking at a camera. I think that's just better for me and everybody else.
I'm a junior this year and it's been going really well so far. This year I'm planning on like doing good and making it look good for senior year, just like passing my classes and making sure I contribute with it and everything.
I'm also a junior and so far the year has been good. I like how everybody it's kind of like calm this year, and we're just like trying our best.
Great. Well, thank you for those insights. At this point, we're going to go into closed session. So, Dr. Portillo, I hope you got the same email I did that will allow you. Actually, I guess you could just keep this on. Is that right, Daniel? Can he just stay on?
Yeah, you can stay on. I'll have the open session this Zoom room open, just for any guests and be able to inform them, hey, we're still in closed session. We'll come back soon.
Actually, yeah, you can keep it open.
Okay, good. So Dr. Portillo will be back with you shortly, and the rest of us are going to leave this meeting and go to the closed session link that Josh sent us on his. Who is Ken Park? Is that somebody we need to talk about?
With DMS.
Oh, DMS. Okay, very good. See you in a minute.
All right.
I think we are all back now. So I'm going to report out from closed session. And I'm going to do it off the top of my head because I don't have a script to read. So if I miss a point, let me know. In the matter of student discipline case number 08182022, the board has approved the voluntary stipulated expulsion agreement and the related rehabilitation requirements in this case. And the vote was unanimous, 4-0. Does that cover all the bases?
It's perfect.
Oh,
Thank
good. All righty. Then we will move ahead to reports, starting with the operations report.
Yes, I have a quick slide deck to present about our attendance and enrollment. First, I might need to borrow Josh's charger.
Mhm. Can you share your screen?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So first I'll talk about enrollment. We have had a number of students leave SEBA this year between the very beginning of the school year and up to now. We've had to do 2 or 3 now different intakes of new students to try to get closer to our enrollment target. Our enrollment target by October is set at about 515. We've had a large number of students on the screen here, 41 students from last year to this year who have left SEBA.
I'll provide some context for that.
Yeah, so typically we have around 10 students, give or take, leave between 8th and 9th grade. Most of them attend a district school for a more traditional high school experience. But I think we've seen a lagged effect of now the 10th graders who didn't necessarily leave us last year going from 8th to 9th grade. So you'll see here we have 13 students who left us from 8th to 9th grade, and then 15 leave us from the 9th to 10th grade this year. And for all the students that have left this year, I put a reason here why the student has left SEBA. The majority of them, I would say about 30 out of the 41 have left to the local district schools. So we've been bringing in new students, and as of today, our enrollment is 511. We even took in some high school students from 9th through 11th. Typically, we try to bring students in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade level just because it's an easier transition for the student to be here as long as possible. But we've seen that we've taken in, but we filled up our 6th grade level, and for 7th and 8th grade, we pretty much almost exhausted our list for students to enroll from our wait list. So it's been a bit of a challenge to keep at this enrollment level, but we're doing it in the interest of, keeping our doors open to the community and trying to fulfill our target enrollment for revenue purposes.
Daniel, you're saying that you've tapped out the wait list?
In the 7th and 8th grade, we've nearly exhausted our wait lists. There have been a handful that just didn't respond. So we, because we didn't get a response in time, we go to the next person. So in 7th and 8th grade, yeah, our wait list, it's almost tapped out for 7th and 8th. 6th grade, we brought in as much as we can. So there's still some on the wait list. And then through high school, we try to divide the number of students equally amongst the grade levels. So we still have some students on the wait list in the high school level as well.
And what's the what do you, especially for the old, the high school kids that are coming, say, well, coming from another school in the district, how are they brought in? How are they acclimated, or what's the, what's done to help them get acclimated to the new school?
Do you feel comfortable answering that one, Josh?
Yeah, so we do a orientation with them and their parents prior to coming in. So it's the same orientation that we do with all our new families. Trying to set them up with meetings with their teachers, and then set them up with all the stuff they need to succeed. And if possible, we try to set them up with like a student liaison who kind of show them around the school as they come on board. I think so just to kind of provide a little bit more context here, I think, the numbers are concerning. I think we'll get back up to where we were. Really, what I think this comes down to is a couple of things. We had a year last year in which we didn't lose any students, and we always lose about 10 to 20 students between the 8th to 9th grade transition. That didn't happen last year. It went back to what it's historically done every year this year. And in addition, we had a number of students in 10th grade that also happened. So now we had 2 years at the same time. And then as you go lower in the grade levels, we are getting close to the end of our wait lists in 7th and 8th grade. We did a lot of outreach last year to increase our application numbers. So I think that it might be a product of the declining enrollment in the Watsonville area, including PVUSD. So I know overall in Watsonville, there's been, or in the district, there's been a decrease of about 20% of students. And so I think we're finally starting to see some of that hit Saba a little bit.
So
That
just
was
really
what,
quick, when you say the reasons from them leaving, I'm just clarifying, and it says district, you mean district schools in Pajaro?
Yes.
And what are county schools then?
Hughes County?
School within the county, like I know there might be one up in the Santa Cruz area.
Mhm.
And 1 or 2 of those were for transportation issues. The student lives closer to that county school, so it became difficult for them to get their students to Saba.
And generally, don't you have enrollment around 520-ish? That has been historically what it is.
Yeah, so historically, we try to start our enrollment caps at 525, and we try at the very beginning of the year to get close to that number as possible. Just because we do acknowledge that traditionally we do have that attrition from 8th to 9th grade.
Mhm.
By October time, we get closer to 510, 515. So between the beginning of the year and then October, we do what we can to backfill our enrollment from the wait list to get as close to 515 as possible. And this year we kind of saw that happen a little bit faster than normal. But it's like Josh said, that kind of goes back to having that now 10th grade group leave Saba.
And what is the sticking rate of the students that are brought in like that? How successful are they once they come to Saba? What can you give sort of a ballpark percentage about what percent or find success at Saba?
You mean students who joined Saba later,
Yeah.
not in 6th grade, but like in say 8th or 9th or 10th grade?
Right.
I would say at least 70%, if not 80, will stay. I would
Okay.
say one of the challenges at the high school level is as we enroll students, sometimes it just takes a while. Sometimes it's a perfect marriage, and some of our best students have joined us at the high school level. Oftentimes it's a kind of a change of culture for the student, and it takes a little bit of while to adapt as it would to any school. And sometimes there can be a lot of pushback between how we do things at Saba and how maybe they went about school in their previous site.
How many of the 9th graders left because they wanted to be more involved in athletics?
I would say close to a majority
Mhm.
from looking at the numbers today. I would say close to a majority of them.
Yeah, that's what I guessed.
So I think I'm not, if I'm totally honest, I'm not concerned about this decrease this year. In fact, there's a lot of COVID echo effects, like even credit recovery, we were working on this. So this is one of those other things, like we're kind of somewhat past COVID, but we're still seeing impacts of it down the line. Probably will continue to do that. What I am a little bit concerned about is further down. I mean, we're at a max limit. We already have 90 kids at the 6th grade, and we have a fairly long wait list in 6th grade, so we can't enroll any more students there. But I am a little bit concerned about how we're getting too close to or to the end of our wait list in the 7th and 8th grade, because that's not typically been the case in the past. And so I'm not really sure what's behind that. We could bring a report of how many applications received over the last 10 years. I know we have that, and we could present that to you maybe at the October board meeting. But I know it dipped during COVID, but we got back near where we were pre-COVID numbers last year.
All right, any other questions regarding the operations report?
I have just one more slide. It's related. It's
Oh,
just
sorry.
update. So our month one, our first 4 weeks of school, largely due to that fact that we lost a lot of students. Our ADA was a little bit lower than we generally see in the first month of school. I mean, for the kids that were enrolled here, 94.72%, that's actually pretty good percentage attendance. But like I said, we had to bring in a lot of students just to get closer to our current 511 enrollment. So our first month is 471. We brought in more students. Just this last week, I looked at the numbers, it's 470, and that's largely because we've had a lot of students in the last week that have been out for various illnesses, COVID included. But then today's attendance, just looking at today, after we've brought in some of the newer students in the past couple of weeks, our ADA today was 485. I can say it's 485. So we're getting closer, but to be able to reach our budgeted ADA of 494.4, we're going to have to continue to bring in new students if possible, or really hope to see that enrollment number moving forward closer to the 95, 96, or even 97 that we've seen in the past.
So Daniel, what's the ADA rate? That's the budgeted one, right?
Yeah, the 494.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, that is, yeah, that's what I meant. Okay.
That was about 515 student enrollment at like
Oh, and that's at what, 96, 95%?
95 and a half or 96.
Okay. Okay.
What does your crystal ball tell you in terms of given these sort of new circumstances? At some point, if it sticks like this and the ADA is around 470 rather than 494, when do we start looking at the budget and making adjustments?
Well, thankfully, the state forced our hand in that regard. We are going to be presenting an updated budget. I don't know if it's next month or just wait until the first interim. The governor signed the new budget for the school year, but that included updates to the LCFF funding rates. And then there's a couple of categorical funds, one-time funds that came in. So our budget will need to be updated anyway. So we might be making an updated ADA target at that point as well.
Great.
Probably a little bit more time seeing what our ADA is going forward after this first month of low enrollment.
I think one consideration in this that's also important is that there's still isolation rules for COVID in effect at public schools. And so the way the state got around that last year with having a lot of people being out maybe longer than they would typically be out for a typical cold, was to give them the opportunity to do a 3-year rolling average for their ADA. That was for district schools, but for charters, we did not have that option.
Mhm.
And this year, especially right at the start of the school year, you're usually going to see at SABA at least 97, 90% attendance. Our attendance, you can see there, 94%. So that's lower than we typically are for, July, August. And a lot of that is because you're out for, sniffles or something, and now you have to be out for 5 days unless you test negative for COVID. And if you don't go get a test, you could be out for up to 10 days. So we still are dealing with those health effects at SABA. So that's another consideration. And I think every school is probably going to be feeling this in a similar manner.
Josh, do you guys have any independent study that you could recapture some of those attendance ADA points? I know for ourselves, we started an independent study program so that we could maintain students in the district and the attendance rate. So I'm just curious.
We have work provided to the students. The teachers reach out and they know how to access their work if they can't be at school.
Okay.
We had independent study last year. Our issue was if we were going to report it as attendance, we needed to show there was work product for 4 different classes completed on time.
Mhm.
And we struggled to get all 4 pieces of those work consistently for the students that were out. And so for the amount of time and effort people were putting into putting these IS packets together to show that, I think we got maybe 3 additional full days of student work.
Mm.
So I kind of said, no, let's not put we can put our energy elsewhere.
Mhm.
The other thing too is like you take that information in, and if we report it, but they're missing that 3rd block there, and then it gets audited, that could be a finding. So I didn't want to take that risk.
Mhm. That is the big problem with independent studies.
Right.
One, it's a large amount of work for teachers, and then having students complete it so that you can get attendance for it. So yeah, we all face that. So, okay.
Anything else on the operations report?
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to the CASP.
Okay. Oh, can you enable screen sharing?
And Dr. Portillo, anytime any questions come up and that you want to ask, don't hesitate.
But before you ask, you have to unmute.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I will.
So this data is still embargoed, but it said in the email that we received that we can share it out with the board. So we are following their instructions. So this is how SABA performed last year, and we're going to kind of work our way up through the grade levels. Starting off here at grade 6, what we can see on my screen is that in math, we saw achievement levels comparing ourselves to the district overall. Less students at that level 1, quite a few more at the level 2, and then level 3 and level 3. We also performed better level 4, a little bit narrow band at that top. And then we can see Santa Cruz County overall. Here we can see some numerical scores. So 5.3% standard exceeded for grade 6 math compared to 6.4 for PBUSD and 12.4 for the Santa Cruz County. Standard met 17 to 9 and 13. And then we had 34% at level 2 compared to 23 and 26. And then at level 1, 42% of our students were at level 1 math in 6th grade versus 60 at the district and 47 at the county. Definitely heard across the board what a struggle it was to come back to teaching in person, and everyone I know is working really hard to figure out how they can close those learning gaps, complete the unfinished learning so that the students can succeed. But one thing that I'm excited about is this, it does tell a positive story here as we move up the grade levels.
Absolutely.
So as we go up to grade, and please stop me if you have any questions or comments. Grade 7, or excuse me, grade 6 ELA, similar story. I'm just going to go to the numbers here. We can see we had 2% of our grade 6 students exceed the standard versus 6 at the district and 14 across the county. 17% of our students met the standard versus 16.5, so about the same at the district. And then the county was at 23%. And then nearly met 37 versus 27 at the district and 26 in the county. And then not met 42 here, 49 in the district, and 35 in the county. So that's grade 6. And then we go on to grade 7 math. We can see in our numbers here, we had 8% of our students exceed the standard compared to 5 and 13. 18% of our students met the standard compared to 10 and 17. 34% of our students nearly met the standard compared to 26 and 26. And then 37% of our students did not meet the standard. And that was compared to 57 and 42%. So we're seeing kind of a positive trend moving forward as the students move up through the grade levels.
And it looks really good countywide too, Josh.
Yes.
As you compare it countywide, yeah.
Uh-huh. And then in grade 7 ELA, we can see our bar charts here. And then if we look at the actual numbers, 5 to 7 to 15 for standard exceeded, 34 to 23 to 32 for standard met, 33 to 25 to 22 standard nearly met, and then 26 to 42 and 28 and the standard not met. So grade 7 ELA really, I thought performed really well. So we're really proud of them. Math in grade 8, we can see the bar chart there, and then we see 5 to 6 to 13, and then the standard met 14 to 8 to 13, and then this nearly met 28 to 20 to 23%, and then standard not met 51% of our students did not meet the standard compared to 65 and 49. So that's where we're at with grade 8 math.
Why does that jump up like that in grade 8?
When you say jump up the percentage of students not meeting the standard,
Yeah.
I think a large impact of it may have been these students were distance learning for a year and a quarter, and then they came back to school in grade 8, and this was their first year in live teaching again. So if you think about it, they had middle school online, and now they've got, 8th grade is an important transitional year in terms of math learning. And so they had to relearn everything that they didn't learn the previous 2 years or had not finished learning yet, as well as catch up. So I think that is a large factor for why that's higher there. And then ELA grade 8, we see 9% exceeded compared to 6 and 13 at the district and county. 38 met compared to 21 and 30. 31 nearly met compared to 28 and 25, and then 21 compared to 43 and 30. So this is ELA grade 8 last year. So
That looks great.
Laura
Yeah.
Contreras, please come to the front office. If you are in the building, Ms. Contreras, please come to the front office. Thank you.
You know, Josh, if you add up the standard met and exceeded, we're kicking ass. I mean, that's a really good score total. That's
yeah, I agree.
compared to the other. You know,
43. Yep. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I'm kind of like crescendoing into there's one. So ELA, this is what I really wanted to share with you. This is, so no, we didn't have a single student score level 1 in grade 11 ELA this past school year, 21-22.
That's incredible.
Two,
really?
yeah, it's actually the highest performance our 11th grade has ever shown on the SBAC in SEBA's history. So
That's great.
yeah. And so if we dig in a little bit, we had 37% of our students exceed the standard compared to 16 and 26. So again, it's kind of like we're seeing that as you spend more time at SEBA, you should see
Growth. Mhm.
growth. And so we definitely see that in high school or in SEBA and ELA. And then standard met, half the kids compared to 25 and 29. Nearly met, 13 to compared to 26 and 21, and then not met, we had literally had 0% of students not meet
That's
the.
great.
Yeah.
Huh.
Very proud of
That's
that.
impressive. Yes, you should be.
86% met or exceeded the standard. That's really impressive.
Yeah. I actually would love to, I used to get a data file of all the schools. I'd like to see just how that compares to all the high schools across the county and state. But yeah, we're very excited about that. We have not shared it out with staff following the state's instructions, but once it is no longer embargoed, we want to celebrate the students and the staff for their great growth this past year. And then math, similarly, I was really proud of this too. So, you know, we see a large chunk of level 2 here, but then we also had level 3 and 4 comparable to the district, a little bit lower than the state, but fewer students at that level 1. So if we look at the numbers, 5% of our students exceeded in grade 11 math compared to 5 at the district and 13 at the county. 11% met compared to 10 and 15. And then we had 42% of our students nearly meet the standard compared to 18 and 21. And then 40% not meet the standard compared to 64 and 49. So we're pleased with that standard. So if you look at that, so 17% proficiency, that actually we've probably hovered right around between 18 and 24% proficient over the last 6 years. So that's actually fairly in line with what our scores were even pre-COVID. Definitely want to see growth there, and I fully expect to see that this year, but at least there wasn't a drop off. All right, and then if we look at all grades, ELA, so this is just the whole school, 6, 7, 8, and 11 combined. We can see 12% exceeded compared to 8 and 18 for the county. 34% met the standard compared to 18 and 25, 29 nearly met compared to 24 and 23, and then 23% of our students did not meet the standard compared to 48 and 33. And then math tells a similar story across all grades. So this is grades 6, 7, 8, and 11 math scores combined, 6% compared to 6% in the district, and 13 in the county. 15% of our students met compared to 11 and 16. 34% of our students nearly met compared to 23 and 25. And 43% of our students did not meet compared to 50 and 44. So yeah, I think we want to dig into it more. We want to look at some of our subgroup data, and we can do that at a future board meeting. But overall, I think there's a lot to celebrate here, and we definitely, once the data is unembargoed, we will celebrate that with our community. Any other questions or comments? Okay.
Okay, moving on to 5C, the audit timing.
Yes. So we put this in here. This is a letter for the board. Basically, the audit timing. We had the audit was postponed last year in response to COVID from the previous year. And so now this is our audit deadline is returning to December 15th. As you all probably remember, we typically have 2 board meetings in December to approve that audit. And so we'll do that again this December. So I just wanted to give everybody an update about that.
Thank you.
Before we move on to consent agenda, I don't think that we went up to 2A to approve the agenda.
Oh, I think you're right, because we went to closed session.
Yes.
I move approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It was unanimous. Okay, thank you for catching that, Daniel. And I see that you had another catch here in that we didn't approve the minutes from December.
Yes.
So thank you for getting that. Is there anything on the consent agenda that anybody would like to pull off for discussion? I'm not hearing anything, so is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It was unanimous. All directors voted in favor of the motion to approve the consent agenda. Now we go to the action items, unaudited actuals, and Paul is here to illuminate everything we need to know.
I can share my screen for you, Paul.
Yeah, please. Good evening, everyone. I hope you're
Good evening.
cooler than we are. It's 113 here.
Oh, where's
Oh, I'm
here?
sorry.
I know.
Where is
Where
here?
are you?
Air conditioning, right? So
Where are
Okay.
you?
I'm in Sacramento area,
Oh, yes.
suburb Rockland. So yeah, I was from LA. I mean, I moved up here thinking it would be cooler. I was foolish.
Cooler than other baseball.
So I'm here to report on the year-end results, unaudited actuals for ending June 30, 2022. And let me just touch on a few really quick things. You're going to see second interim budget, the latest budget the board had approved versus where we've ended the year. We still have to go through audit, and there are some other things we're really digging into on revenues that we're going to talk to the auditors about. There were a lot of one-time discretionary revenues that came out for the pandemic and a learning loss. And the handling of these grants can be very tricky depending on whether you take them in and roll them into as net assets to be chipped away, because these have multi-year usage allowances, right? And some of them require you to defer them. Federal grants tend to be deferred. So, you know, if the auditors come back and we have some discussions, there might be some flips, but I don't foresee. We've really tried to do our homework. But as you can see, this is the summarized version. If you look at the second interim, at that time, we were projecting total revenues of 8.5 million, and we came in really at 8.5 million. We were off $15,000. That was just in some of the state revenues, I think, or how much ESSER money we actually expended and filed for. Pretty much close same story on expenditures. At second interim, we forecasted 8,059,000 and came in at 8,009,000. Overall, if you look at the percentages, you can see comp, certificated salaries, classified benefits all came in under budget, a couple percentage points. That, you know, you don't expect to see big savings there because we should have good planning, especially by the time we're doing second interim. But, you know, a few percentage points, that's good. We might have had a little slack or just maybe an overage in our forecast on healthcare or something like that. Really nothing here that's out of the ordinary that I felt like I needed to report. We're ending the year with a net surplus of $491,000. That's going to go into your existing fund balance, and we're going to end with $6.8 million in your reserves. This slide here is a more detailed version of the revenues and expenditures. For those who want to dig into the details, I tend to focus on the summary because I go over the details with Josh and Daniel, but this will show you various areas where you had little swings, and I don't really concern myself with a big swing one way and then another. Sometimes that's just the coding of specific transactions. I highlighted just some that I thought we were looking into to see what was going on there. Okay, your balance sheet, and I apologize, my fault. If you looked at the balance sheet on board docs before this afternoon, the balance sheet was in error. I think Daniel put the correct one up there, and this is here. Actually, everything improved, but it's not good on my part as an accountant. to rush that out on Friday and not double check things. So overall, you ended the year with $3 million in cash. That equates to 154.9 days of cash on hand. So you could basically go, 5 months without a revenue from the CDE and pay all your bills and make your payroll. So there's $1.7 million in accounts receivable. Like I said, a lot of grants out there. Some of them, like ESSER, are reimbursable grants. The due from other funds, the 202,000, those are items that SEBA has paid for a future securing that facilities. And we're just holding those funds there while things work themselves out. We go down, you can see in your liabilities, there's, current liabilities are 166,000, and then your loan. Below that, you'll see we started the year beginning fund balance 6.379 million, added the 491, ended up at 6.87. All in all, largely most of that is unrestricted. Half of that is basically cash. So all in all, it's about as healthy a school as I've worked with. If there's any questions at this point.
Kudos
Yeah.
to Josh and Daniel. Good job.
Really?
It's a reflection on the management of the school, certainly.
So I have a quick question. Looked like there was a huge drop off in federal funds. What happened there?
That's the
So-
deferred he was talking about.
Right, some of the ESSER, so the CARES Act money that comes is budgeted based on what we forecast the expenditures to be. But you'll then see on the other side, we had an increase in state money. So there were probably some state grants that came in that took up some of those categories that we might have charged off to ESSER. What we try to do is look at the allowable time frame, like ESSER 3, we can use through September of 2024. So we've got 2 more years. Some of the state grants might have tighter timeframes, so we try to just take advantage of the grants as they come in.
Does that make sense, Larry?
Yeah, it does. I mean, the first thing that popped into my mind was that there was a drop off in Title I monies or special ed monies, but
Yeah, no, it was the one-time funds, but good catch. I mean,
Mhm.
you
No,
caught
because
it. So-
mine went down as well, because you can only recognize as much revenue as the expenses that you have. Otherwise, you have to defer that money and then it comes in next year. So,
Yeah, with the CARES Act, we do a quarterly report and then the check comes in 6 to 8 weeks later. So
mhm. My only not question, I think I've asked this before, is when you do the unaudited, you have to do the alternative form, correct?
we're
So
working on
it
that
would-
right now. I don't have it to show you. It just same numbers,
Okay.
it just puts out.
Right,
restricted
so
and
I think as a
unrestricted.
board, we need to see that because that is what is filed.
That is what's filed. It
yes.
is. I did look at Ed Code, not to push. And
No,
anything
no,
that-
that's
it-
fine. Push.
It's not
let me know.
required to be approved before submission because it is what it is. Same
Mhm.
with audit, but I have most of my boards do want to see it before it goes in.
Yes.
So I do apologize. This has been the roughest close I've had in years with all the grants, and
Oh,
we
yeah.
we were running up against the deadline. It's in process right now. It's really close. I thought I'd have it for you. And
But it will mimic what you're showing us in the financials then.
it'd be the same numbers. So I'll
Okay,
shoot it to
that's-
Daniel and Josh when it comes and they can decide if they want to distribute to the board. You guys can look at it. It'll probably it's due the 15th. So
Correct. Mhm. Okay, great. Thank you.
If I could just add my observation about this is I feel really fortunate from a financial standpoint, to be operating a school right now, because I would think most schools are flush with funds because of all the one-time funding that the federal government has provided. But one thing that I think is kind of an interesting phenomenon is everybody's able to go out and pursue different uses of these funds. But as that goes away in 2-3 years' time, and the Watsonville community, along with nearly 90% of other communities around California, are experiencing this declining enrollment, it might flip back to being really conservative financial times again, where we've got to just count every penny. And it's kind of funny to say that when we have such a great fund balance right now, but that's always in the back of my mind.
Well, I think also too is those one-time dollars doesn't really always allow for schools to be able to put programs in place for the long haul, because you don't want to send the money back, right? And you want to use the money, and then you use that and your unrestricted balance goes up because you have your restricted dollars. And
Right.
then back to your point, Josh, it flip-flops if you keep some of those programs in place. So it's kind of, yeah.
And that's where you run into, you know, the old problem, that is you get the windfall of money and you think, oh, let's put in all these new programs, you
That's it.
hire a bunch of people,
Yeah.
which then becomes a fixed cost.
Mhm.
And it's going to run out. Everybody knows it's going to run out. And then you have to get rid of those programs,
Yep.
which is always a painful and, painful process.
Mhm.
So the trick is how can we make use of the money in ways that don't get tied up in fixed costs?
Mhm.
which I
There's,
know
there's a
you're
lot more
about.
coming this year too.
Yes, there is.
There's over $1 million in 2 more discretionary block grants that SABA will be getting for
Mhm.
learning loss, learning recovery,
And
and
art and music and that kind of
art,
stuff.
music, instructional materials. Yeah. And a
Great.
hefty increase in LCFF too.
Yeah.
Which is not reflected on the current budget, but there's several $100,000 more there for
Yeah.
SABA as well. Yeah.
They doubled our COLA, so pretty much doubled our COLAs.
I guess I need to be a little more optimistic and happy about our current situation and not worry about the future.
Well, the COLA on the LCFF is great because that compounds in the future as we have COLAs in future years.
Mhm.
But I wouldn't trade one-time revenues or other revenues for a drop in. I would always want ADA, certainly. But
Yeah.
the COLA, especially on the LCFF, is really sweet. That's
Oh, yeah.
something you're going to see.
You don't see that
Expanded
very
learning
often.
program is here to stay, from what I understand as well. So
Mhm.
there are a lot more revenue streams.
Yeah, ADA looks like probably something we need to watch carefully.
Right now, it's $200,000 to $300,000 impact on the budget.
Mhm.
Yeah. All righty. Any other questions for Paul?
Nope.
It is Ken Park
Oh,
with you,
yeah,
Paul?
so Ken is my assistant finance director. He's very involved in, he's meets with Daniel and Josh a lot. He's in all our meetings. He basically takes care of the books. He reconciles all those grants for you, makes me look good. And the lack of the unaudited alt form today is my fault, but otherwise, without Ken, I would not be here. So just wanted to introduce him, and he wanted to see what goes on in the board meetings, and in the future, he might be attending as well and taking a more active role in budgets and so forth. So,
Well, thank you for being with us today, Ken.
Thank you for having me.
I want to say Ken is extremely responsible. I'm always amazed at how when the audit starts, like we wrap up one audit and the next audit, we get 50 documents we need to upload. And it's like that, Ken's on it. And I feel like I completely can trust him to stay up with that. So glad you're part of the team, Ken.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it.
All right, if there are no further questions for Paul or Ken, we'll close out 7A and,
Do we have to vote on that?
oh, it's an action item. Thank you. All those in favor of approving the,
Well, I move approval.
Yes.
thank you, Mary. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposition, so is it a unanimous vote? Motion approved. So now we will move on. Before we ask Dr. Portillo to exit, would anybody like to ask him any questions about his interests or background, things of that nature?
I'll go. How did you hear about SABA, and what are your goals as a prospective board member?
Yeah, thank you once again. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure being in your presence, and hopefully maybe someday down the road we could all be in person. So I heard it from Larry, who happens to be also my father-in-law. He's been part of the board for some time now, and I've always been interested professionally in leadership. And he presented it to me, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity to really support a community that I have a lot in common with, and who I work directly with here in Santa Clara. I'm really excited to learn more, and any of my expertise and experience that I can offer is at your disposal.
Great. And Dr. Portillo, do you have any questions for us?
No, I just really wanted to, when the meeting opened with the students talking about fundraising, one of my first jobs was a Puente counselor. It's a program for first generation students that are college bound. And I'm not sure if you're all familiar with it, but there's a lot of fundraising around that program. So it warmed my heart to hear that they're out there selling pozole, because I remember those days of doing the tamales and having, going out to the community and just getting that buy-in was really important for fundraising and outreach. So that really resonated with me at the beginning of the meeting. So I appreciated that for sure.
Fantastic. Okay, if I don't have any other questions, then Dr. Portillo, thanks for joining us today. I'm going to ask you to exit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
All right, so this item 7B has to do with appointing Dr. Portillo as a new SEBA board member. Any discussion, questions, observations?
Does he know, like, would he need to get Brown Act training and that kind of stuff so that he knows, the rules and regulations around being part of a public board? That would be my only comment. And I know generally, isn't it in November, maybe December, where they have the Brown Act training?
Yes, that is, he does need to receive that training, that annual training. So I was going to say this for the end, but I'll just say it now. The retreat, we had 3 options: this Saturday, 9/10, October 15th, and October 22nd. We're actually tied 3-3 in terms of votes for the 15th and the 22nd. This Saturday is out for our retreat. But if he were to join the board, he would be able to attend one of those 2 retreats and receive the Brown Act training there.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I think Michael and I met with him, I think 2 Fridays ago, or maybe a Monday ago. I was under the weather, so I was at home, but he just really impressed me with his commitment to education, students, and particularly the Latinx community. And that really shined through with all of his answers to our interview questions. So it seems like he genuinely cares and wants to make an impact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. There's no doubt about it. And I'm not just saying that because he married my daughter. And by the way, that was
Yeah, sure, right, Larry.
it was just July 1st, so it hasn't been a long time. But he's a good guy. He really, really cares deeply about kids. He just finished his doctorate. He's been a counselor for his entire career. So I'm pushing him to expand his knowledge and expand his abilities to jump into different jobs and do different things.
Mhm.
And I thought this was a really good opportunity for him to see a little bit about how a board acts and what we have to deal with, which gives him a perspective he wouldn't ordinarily have.
No, I definitely agree with that, Larry. And just his commitment to being a counselor tells you right straight that, he's got kids right in his focus at all times, which is where it should be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the appointment of Dr. Portillo to our SEBA board?
I move approval.
And
I'll second.
you probably can't do that.
That's what
Oh, that's true.
I'll second it, yeah.
Go ahead, Gershom.
I'll second.
That's true.
Okay. Now, here's another question. Is there anything that would restrict Larry from voting?
I don't know about that. Part of me thinks because there is, well, there's no financial interest. Well, there shouldn't be any financial issues, right?
All right.
No, and it would be in our bylaws, and there's nothing in our bylaws that speaks to that. So
All right.
look that up last Monday, Michael.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. And it's unanimous. Motion approved.
Yay.
Yay. All righty. Closing items. Any items for the next board meeting?
So like I said earlier, we've got Mary Michael Gershom confirmed for, or can attend the 15th. Michael Gershom, and Larry can attend the 22nd for a board retreat in October. Olivia and Javier, I have not heard back from yet. So,
So would we be doing the retreat instead of the October 4th board meeting?
no, we would do both, I think. Mostly just because there's so much to do at the retreat.
If that's the case, I will be in Portugal and not available
For what, for the 4th?
for the 4th, yeah.
Oh, okay. But you'll be back for the 15th or the 22nd?
Right.
All right, I'm gonna send out one more ask for Olivia, Javier, and now Dr. Portillo, and then we will I'll send an email of what date that'll happen, but it'll be a Saturday morning.
Is there somebody who would like to step in as chair for that meeting? Would that be Mary?
Yeah, I can do it.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
All righty. I think that's
Okay.
everything.
Yeehaw.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It was unanimous. So thanks everybody for showing up. And
Thank
that was a
you.
good meeting.
Thank you.
And,
Take care, you guys.
You.
Thank you for
Good.